Now the 2-2. Manny swings, sends it in the air to deep center field. Hines is going back, still going back, and it's a home run off the batter's eye. Manny Machado, a grand slam here in the 6th inning, his second home run of the day. Tied it with a 2-run shot in the 3rd, and now he ties it with a slam here in the 6th.
Almost the identical pitch, except this one was a little bit closer. It's still a ball.
Manny Machado, or Slammy Machado, I think Chris said earlier today. He hit a grand slam. He hit another home run earlier in the game, and Manny Machado was looking very, very good today. I am Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to watch, you can on Facebook, 97.3 The Fan. You could also go to YouTube, 97.3 The Fan. The Skraby Show YouTube at the Skraby Show, and you can go to 97.3 The Fan 97.3 The Fan SD on Twitter, also at Matt Skraby on Twitter. So we are going to talk about what happened with the game today. They ended up losing 11-10, but hey, they fought back, and it was an instant classic, as Chris and I were saying. But really, the story of today would be Manny Machado hitting 2 home runs, and one of them being a grand slam. It's just nice to see that Manny, right before World Baseball Classic, he is starting to put something together. I know it was only one game, but still, I like to see 2 home runs in the game. The other storyline from this would be Nick Pivetta did not have a great outing today. And I'll tell you what he did, and then I will tell you what I think. He went 2 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. And if other pitchers have something to prove, then this would be a bad day. But Nick Pivetta is already squarely in the rotation. He's already going to possibly be the opening day starter. So I'm not too worried about this. Maybe he was trying some stuff. Maybe he was throwing new pitches. We don't really know. So don't read too much into what Nick Pivetta did today. The 2 innings, 3 runs could have been worse, but obviously it sticks out at you when you see that. Some of the other pitchers today, Wandy Peralta, an inning, no hits. David Morgan, an inning, a strikeout and a hit. Miguel Mendez, I think I may have jinxed him. 2/3 of an inning, 4 earned runs. And then you just go through the line, and no one else really gave up too much. But Miguel Mendez did give up those 4 runs. And the Padres are now just kind of making their way through spring training. I think this game is an indication of nothing other than they're ready for the World Baseball Classic. I could see this. And it's going to be nice for the World Baseball Classic, because I remember last time we had the World Baseball Classic, and it was nice to see these guys playing before the actual season, but playing like in real games, because spring training games, you can't really take anything from. You can take something from the World Baseball Classic, I think. Now, I don't know if it means, if they have a great World Baseball Classic, I don't know if that translates into a great season. My brain tries to tell me that it does, but we saw a couple years ago, some of the guys started slow after the World Baseball Classic, but I'd much rather them get live gameplay than just kind of hanging out at spring training, all spring training. So World Baseball Classic is coming up pretty soon in the next couple weeks, and I am looking forward to it. Yuki Matsui is not going to be a part of the World Baseball Classic. He has told everyone that he is injured, and so he's not going to be able to pitch for Team Japan. He has an adductor issue, which actually is an issue for the Padres long term, because we need Yuki Matsui to come out of the bullpen at certain points, and so we need him to be healthy. Also, I would like to point out Rodolfo Duran hit a home run as well today. It was a home run fest, because you had Duran hitting a home run, you had Manny Machado hitting 2 home runs. Then you got, I guess it wasn't really a fest. I maybe oversold it with fest, but then you have Callahan from the Reds with a home run. So 4 total home runs today, and Rodolfo Duran was the other Padre with a home run. Not really much for me to take from this game outside of Manny Machado. Fernando batted second today, which yesterday I said, oh, he hasn't batted second at all in in spring training. He's going to be in the cleanup spot. Well, he batted second today. He had 2 walks in 3 plate appearances, and he struck out once. So Fernando with the good eye still. Gavin Sheets went 1 for 3 today. He had a walk. Ty France 0 for 3, but he did have a walk. Sung Mung Song went 1 for 2 today. He had 2 walks, so that's good to see. And outside of that, no one that's really going to be fighting for a roster spot is someone that we need to note. But there you go. That is what happened with the Padres game today. Now, on the show, we're going to talk about, in just a second, we're going to talk about this new Dennis Lin article about who has bid on the Padres. We're going to have the Daily Gripe a little bit later, but this is very interesting with the bids were due on Wednesday, so yesterday, and there were 5 groups bidding to purchase the Padres according to The Athletic. And the new group that we haven't heard from before, or we didn't know publicly that they were interested in the Padres, but Joe Kudla, sorry, Joe, we're going to have to figure out how to pronounce your last name, but he is the owner and CEO of Viore, which is based in Carlsbad. He's partnered with Drew Brees to put a bid in on the Padres. Now, Drew Brees, we talked about this earlier. Drew Brees is not even though he has lots of money, he's not one of the guys that can purchase the team. So he's in on this group, but having Drew Brees involved is a good thing. If say that the Viore bid is the one that wins, then you have Drew Brees that could be an ambassador of your organization for as long as he's a part of the crew. And I think that's a big thing. Drew Brees still lives here in San Diego, and so he is not going to move this team. And Viore, based in Carlsbad, not going to move this team. We looked up where Joe Kudlow lived, or at least I tried to look up and see where he lived, but what I was getting is Encinitas. So he lives here in San Diego. The team would not be moving. So we only know 3 of the bidders. 2 of the bidders are not known to reporters yet. The other 2 bidders that we do know, Golden State Warriors owner Joe Lacob and the English Premier League club owner Jose Feliciano, they were already reported, obviously, as it being interested in the team. But what I'm seeing here is that the Padres, well, a lot of teams are going to pay attention to what the Padres sell for, because that's going to tell a lot of Major League Baseball owners where their team is at in valuation. And they were appraised at $2.31 billion. And so we had heard this $2.4 billion number as a price tag for the Padres. But they're seeking, according to The Athletic, they're seeking a price closer to $3 billion, which would be a record, because that record was set in 2020 when Steve Cohen bought the Mets for $2.42 billion. So there is no shortage of suitors for this. There's no shortage of money for this. But man, if you can get $3 billion out of this for the Seidler family, that would be a huge win, because they bought the Padres in 2012 for $800 million. $800 million. That's hard to believe. You're making that is hard to believe that how much money they're going to be making once they sell this team. But hey, this is what this is what happens when you own a team. You get to sell it for $3 billion. Trevor says, no way, $3 billion. Well, that's what they are saying. Now, of course, the reports could say $3 billion, and they're not getting anything close to $3 billion. But if you're telling people it's $3 billion and no one knows the other bids, maybe they'll bid a little bit more. John Seidler said last week, quote, We've had tremendous interest. Some parties have been reported in the press, others have not, and more parties are interested than has been reported. In the next few months, the process will come to a logical conclusion. So we're not going to get anything, I don't think, before the season starts. And I also said this before, and then we ended up seeing that there were some bidders and things like that. But it really doesn't seem to me like this will happen before the season starts. Maybe at some point through the season, but as of right now, the Seidlers are still going to own the team. But they are sitting pretty right now. They got all these people that want this team, and it's a good thing to be wanted, and it's also good for them to have everybody keep bidding on it. Katrina says the reports are this will be record breaking. Yeah, and if it's record breaking, then it has to be at least $2.43 million, which if they're being appraised at $2.3 billion, then I don't really see why they couldn't get to that $2.43 billion. But that's the latest on the ownership situation with the Padres. As Tony said earlier, as Chris said earlier, the only thing I really care about in this whole thing is if they get an owner who cares about this team, cares about the city, continues to put out a winner. That's all I really care about. It does not matter to me outside of an investment group. I'm scared of the investment groups, the capital investment groups. I do not want them to be owned by a conglomerate. I want the Padres to be owned by tangible people. And I think this could be a really, really, really good story for San Diego if Drew Brees could get involved. Now, I'm not saying he's leader in the clubhouse, but I am saying that having Drew Brees behind it would be awesome. Let's see. Kathy says, "Did you see the cost of the stuff from Vuori? For women, it's at least $150 for a pair of workout pants. Who's going to spend that much to sweat in those clothes?" Yeah, there's a lot of people that buy Vuori. I will say I am not an expensive clothes person, but I do have a couple Vuori things. I have some shorts and I have a shirt. And the shorts, they are some of the best shorts I've ever worn in my entire life. And I've had them for like 2 years now, and they still don't look like they have been used more than once or twice. So the quality of these clothes are great. Price, definitely a little much. Definitely a little much. But there you go. It seems like the owner or the CEO and owner of Vuori and Drew Brees among bidders in the Padres sales process. If you want to read the entire article, you can go to The Athletic, go to Dennis Lin. He wrote it. It's up there, and you can form your own opinion. All right, when we get back here, we're going to talk about Joe Musgrove throwing on the backfields. We're also going to hear from Craig Stammen this morning on a couple things, and then we'll go from there. So you're listening to the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Matt Skraby here with you in the Bill House Studios. We know how. We're going to hear from Craig Stammen this morning talking about Nick Pivetta, and we're just going to forget that Nick Pivetta had a lackluster outing today, but this was done in the morning, so we did not know that Nick Pivetta had that. We're going to talk about Merrill Kelly in a second because I just came across a tweet during break, and apparently Merrill Kelly had a 3-year offer from the Padres, but he turned it down for a reason, and some say a good reason. We'll talk about it here in just a second, but I'm the Dude Man on YouTube is asking, where is you? Is he going to be a part of the rehab clubhouse this year? Last thing I heard about you, Darvish, was that he was going to rehab with the team, or he was going to rehab in San Diego, and he also was going to stick around and help. I don't know how much of each he's going to do, but I do know he's going to be around the team this year. And I'm pretty sure that he's working with Randy Vasquez. And so Randy Vasquez is asking him a bunch of questions about his pitching style and how he thinks about going after hitters and things like that. So he's definitely involved. And Yu Darvish will be bestowing his knowledge upon everyone, I'm sure. Also got a question on the chat from Jay Munoz. And Jay Munoz says, wouldn't a big owner group bring in more money and maybe more spending? I would say that it's definitely a case by case. I can't say that all owner groups are like this, but I'm talking about capital groups, the capital investment groups. And I go back to when I was talking about the Boston Red Sox and how they're owned. And so basically they're owned by a bigger entity that also includes an English Premier League team. It also includes other teams, and it includes some music venues as well. So all of the money and this is a very general breakdown of this, but what I was learning from the Boston Red Sox fans is all of this money that is being made, like some of it goes into the Red Sox bank account, some of it does not. But all of the money is pooled. So if you have an investment group that has one team, yeah, you're going to get some money. But in the Red Sox example, the stadium that they had to update in England for one of the Premier League teams, that money came from money that the Red Sox made as well, because they're all under one umbrella. So that's why I don't want a capital or just an investment group in general. I want to stop saying capital investment. I don't want a bunch of people who have just put in their money to make more money to own the team, because they don't care. They just want the business to run. They just want money to they just want to keep making money. And when you have a guy or a gal who owns the team and you could point to them, I feel like that means that they're closer to the team than they would be if they were just a conglomerate of people. Trevor says Red Sox spend 46% of revenue on MLB player payroll. Man, Red Sox need to figure something out. Red Sox they really shouldn't, in my mind, have any issue making money. They're the Boston Red Sox. I know they won some World Series, in the last 10 years? But Red Sox fans are crazy. They love their team. It's like a fight over season tickets all the time between friends. So I would think that the Red Sox could survive on their own, but I guess not. It's called the Fenway Sports Group, I believe. And they also have like a concert venue there at Fenway, and that money is also pooled back to the overarching umbrella company. But thank you, Jay Munoz, for the question. And again, I'm not saying that every single group is like that, but for the most part, that's what I'm seeing from some of these big time billionaire investment groups. All right. Oh, SD Mike says something very, very good. Definitely depends on the investment group. If it's a group like the Dodgers ownership, count me in. That's an example of an ownership group that knows where their money is made. And right now, their money is made with the Dodgers. Merrill Kelly, real quick. Maybe not real quick, but Merrill Kelly, according to Foul Territory, Merrill Kelly had a 3-year offer from the Padres, but he turned it down because the tax implications were absurd enough that it made more sense to take the D-backs 2-year deal. He said, quote, "They take too much money. The taxes over there are unbelievable." I mean, he's not wrong about that. Taxes are unbelievable here in California. But I've never really heard an athlete say, "I am not choosing a California team because of the taxes." This is surprising. Also, the Padres offered him a 3-year deal. I think the Padres kind of got lucky here, and Merrill Kelly let them off the hook. He is an older guy. He's not even going to be starting the season on time because he has like mid back tightness. He's good, but he's not like, hey, we're going to pay you 3 years and it doesn't matter if you are good or not in your last year of your contract or last 2 years of your contract. Last year he was with the Diamondbacks. He went to the Texas Rangers. I did not realize that, but he had a 3.52 ERA over, let's see, 32 appearances. That's actually pretty good. But Merrill Kelly is someone that I don't think is a good investment for 3 years. Man, this stat page really just put a hole in my argument because he went 12-9, 184 innings, 167 strikeouts. Am I looking at the right guy? I am. I guess I'm mistaken. But anyway, I will stick with this. The Padres got lucky because he's 38 years old, or he'll be 38 in October, and he's already started the year on the IL. So that's not something that the Padres need to deal with. And they're probably going to get one of the pitchers that they picked up here recently, probably going to get one of those guys to pitch, in the rotation, and they're not going to be paying them nearly enough. Not at all. But yeah, he didn't choose the Padres because of the California taxes. I actually am really surprised that more guys don't do this. I know that golfers live in Arizona and Florida because they don't have income tax. We heard that Sam Darnold, when he played the Super Bowl here, he actually received a tax bill that was more than what he made for playing in the Super Bowl. Yeah, taxes are bad here. But I also think, like, when you're making millions of dollars, I would probably go to the team that gives me the best shot to win. But hey, I'm not the one who's actually sitting there with a multi-million-dollar contract in front of me. So it would be tough, but I would just be happy to be playing for the Padres. You have to live in Phoenix during the summer. Yes, Brandon, he's going to be 38. He said he didn't think he was anywhere near that old. I think he pitched in Japan, or at least I think he pitched in Japan for a while. His first major league season was in 2019. He was 30 years old when he made his debut with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I think they dodged a little bit of a bad contract there, but 2 years, $40 million is what they gave him. $20 million a season. That's kind of the going rate, but still, the Padres did not want to pay that, and they kind of got lucky with that. All right. Craig Stammen. He talked to the media earlier this morning. He was asked about Nick Pivetta because Nick Pivetta was starting today, and this was asked before Nick Pivetta started. So Sam asked him about Nick Pivetta, gave his thought or asked for his thoughts on whether or not he could repeat last year's season.
Nick, one of our leaders in the clubhouse, one of our leaders on the pitching staff, pitched game one for us in the playoffs. Obviously, we know how good he can be. We saw it last year, and we're just looking for kind of that same consistency this year going forward. this is first step of spring training and competition, be able to see that. But Nick had a great offseason, put in a ton of work. Had a lot of people that were around him that have had success in the past in the big leagues that he's learning from. And he's taking that to the Padres. So, really happy with where Nick's at right now and excited for his future.
So Nick Pivetta is going to be fine after. I know there's someone out there, but he gave up a bunch of runs today. He's going to be fine. He said yesterday with Ben and Woods that he loves to learn. And I like to hear that guys in the different parts of their career, even later parts in their career, are continuing to try to learn. And that's how you get better. And Nick Pivetta seems like he understands that. So we'll see what happens with Nick Pivetta here in spring, but I think everything is going to be okay. Now, one of the things that I keep talking about and will keep talking about is the automated balls and strike system, because I am fascinated by strategy. I am fascinated about when they do it, who does it, things like that. So Craig Stammen, now that they've had a few games and they've won, the Padres have actually been pretty good with their ball strike, tapping their helmets, the review challenges of the ball or strike. So he was asked today who is allowed to challenge the umpire's calls and why he believes the team has had so much success with the challenges so far.
Like how they do with the ABS. Like, is that going to affect who you allow to make decisions to challenge?
Yeah, I think it's more of like, man, this guy's really bad at it, so you take it away from him. But so far, we've been killing it. Credit to Jim McHugh for organizing all the ABS talks and the strategies, and when not to use it. We saw Ty France yesterday use it at a perfect time, 3-2 bases loaded. I think he thought it was for sure a ball, and it ended up being really close. And then, how baseball always works. He gets a 17 hopper up the middle and scores 2 runs. So that was cool to see. Hopefully the bounces keep going our way with ABS.
There's a reason why you've been good at it so far as a team?
I think one is Campy's been using it a lot, and he used it a lot in AAA last year and was fairly good at it. Talking with the AAA coaches and just himself, he feels very confident with it. And then Freddie had a couple good calls too, and the umpires are also like their spring training also, so they may be a little off and they may miss a few calls, but so far our catcher have been kind of dialed in on it.
Something else to watch out for is guys who have spent a lot of time in the minor leagues because they probably know how to use the system better than others. And Luis Campusano, he was in the minor leagues a lot last year. They had ABS in the minor leagues, so he's very familiar with it. That was something I hadn't thought about. So I think it's just going to be fun and dramatic, and there are going to be times where the call's not going to go the Padres fans' way, and it's going to be heartbreaking. And then there are going to be times where it does go the Padres fans' way, and it will be just a celebration. Can you imagine like a walk-off ABS thing? That would be crazy. That would absolutely be crazy. Brandon says, I don't think it's a who to use it. I think it's a when you use it. Do you need a call in the first inning with 1 out or the 8th inning with 2 outs? Definitely need to weigh the points in the game. Like if you have, say, it's the 2nd inning, you got guys on 2nd and 3rd, and it's 2 outs, a close pitch strikes out the batter, ends the inning, batter challenges it, it's a ball, and they end up driving the runs in, kind of like what Ty France did. I think in those situations, if you have a batter up that you trust, I think you let them, when there's runners in scoring position, you may not get many opportunities in the game. I think that's when you go and use it early in the game. But for the most part, I personally would save them for the second half of the game, just in case I needed one, because you never want to be at a point where you use all of your challenges and then a massive point in the game happens and you could have challenged, but you can't because your challenges are gone. I kind of feel like they're always going to have one challenge in their pocket, and maybe they run out of those challenges, but I always feel like you need at least one challenge in your pocket, kind of like with football. I don't like taking both challenges because you lose a timeout, and then you're out of challenges and you got to save something for later in the game. All right. Matt Skraby, 97.3 The Fan. Gonna head to break. We have the Daily Gripe on the other side. We also have the NFLPA report cards. Now, I thought we were never gonna get these again, but they were leaked. We'll talk about that. There's some other stuff we could talk about as well. I'm not really sure where we're gonna go in the last segment here of the Skraby Show, but stick around. Back shortly. Final segment of the Skraby Show for the week. I don't have Skraby shows on Fridays, but we will still have a daily gripe at the end of this segment. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I will talk about this. This is kind of a preliminary daily gripe. But I went downtown yesterday, and when I go to my other job, I park in this parking lot that's actually very cheap. So it's very affordable. It's not the best parking lot in the world, but it's affordable. So I park there. And I go up and I get my ticket, and then I have to go put the ticket on the dash so that someone knows that I paid. And everything's been fine. But when I went there yesterday, I didn't see any problems with the machine. And so I put my card in, I paid my $10, or actually yesterday I tried to pay the $6 for the 2-hour limit. But anyway, I put my card in, it authorizes it, it says approved, it says printing ticket. And so I go to pick up the ticket and nothing's there. There's nothing printed. I stick my hand up there. I look in there. I'm like, where the heck is this ticket? All right, maybe my card didn't go through. So I did it again. And it went through again. It said approved, said printing ticket. I'm looking for my ticket. I'm like, what is happening? This is not printing out. I need to get going. So I look again. I'm like, all right, whatever. And so one last time, because I don't want to get a ticket for parking in this place for not having paid parking. So I'm like, I have to try somehow to get one of these things. And so I put my card in a third time and everything goes well again. And you could call me a sucker for putting my card in the third time, but I did not want to pay for an illegal parking fee. So I'd rather pay the $6 3 times than pay the illegal parking fee. But again, it didn't come out of the machine. So I wrote a note and I said, I tried my card at these times. It said it printed a receipt, did not print, but I did pay. That's fine. Cool. I went to my job, came back, nothing was the matter. And I also saw other people in this parking lot with pieces of paper on their dash saying the same exact thing. So I felt a lot better about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and find a phone number and try and call and see if they can like reverse my charges or something like that, or at least 2 of the 3 charges. I don't mind paying the parking I don't mind it. So I want to at least get reversed 2 of the 3 charges. So I show up today, park in the same stuff or the same lot, and I go to the machine, and the machine says you have to go inside this hotel to pay for parking. So I go inside this hotel. It's an interesting hotel. It's an interesting hotel. It's near downtown, so it's not like it's in a terrible area, but I'll just say it's an interesting hotel. So I walk in, guy working the counter doesn't look at me. And I'm like, I'm standing right in front of you. And he's sitting there, and it's so awkward. So I finally just go, hey, it says to come in here to pay the parking. He was like, oh, yes. Do you have cash? I'm like, no, I do not have cash. He was like, okay, well, there's an ATM across the street. You can go get some cash from the ATM. And I'm like, well, then I have to pay $3 for the ATM fee. I just want to use my card. He said, nope, can't use your card at all. And I'm like, fine, I gotta go to work. So I go run across the street, pay the $3 ATM fee plus whatever my bank is paying or charging me. And I go back, give him the money, and then I ask him, hey, is it possible for me to get a phone number so I could call and try to get some of my card purchases reversed, because I paid for parking 3 times and I never got 1 ticket for it or 1 receipt for it. And the guy looks at me and he says, we don't give refunds. And I was like, wait, the machine wasn't working and I paid 3 times for parking. He's like, yeah, we don't give refunds. I'm sorry. It's just the machine. It is what it is. And I'm like, really? Like, you're not going to even think about it? And he goes, oh, I'm not in charge of the machine, but I'm just going to say no. I'm like, all right, Give me the number of the place that owns this parking lot. And he was not happy with me. So I got the number. I'm going to call, and I'll let you know what happens. But it doesn't this sound like a scam a little bit? It sounds a little bit like a scam. Like someone put a sign on the machine that says come inside and pay. And that's not actually the way you do it. So I'm going to let you know what happens. If I forget, please tell me, and I will update everyone. But this is the last 2 days in my morning, 8:30 a.m. downtown, trying to figure out the parking. And then there's this has just been a long daily gripe, but there's just nothing worse than when you are dealing with an employee that does not care about you or what you need or helping you or anything. Everybody's had that person before where you walk up and they just look at you like, why are you here and why are you talking to me? I don't want to do anything for you. But it was very annoying. I kept my cool though, because I was almost like, really? That's like stealing money from me because the machine didn't work. But I kept my cool, and I'll tell you what happens. And if I don't tell you, then let me know, and I will tell you. Trevor says cash only is a tell. I don't get it either, but I didn't get a ticket parking down there, so I guess it was the right place to go. But I'm weirded out by the entire situation. If anybody has any sort of advice for me, please let me know. All right, well, that was your preliminary daily gripe. We'll have the other daily gripe in just a little bit, but the NFLPA report cards were released. I should say they were leaked because the NFL tried to make it so that the NFL Players Association report cards would not become public, mainly because the owner of the Jets, Woody Johnson, didn't like that his players gave him poor scores because he's a terrible owner. So he doesn't want these released. They had this whole thing that was like, hey, you can't release them anymore, NFLPA. Well, someone leaked this and it's everywhere now. And I will say it did surprise me that the Steelers were ranked last in the NFL. The players ranked the Steelers last. Facilities, staff, extra things like daycare. They ranked last, which really surprised me because the Steelers have always been kind of a classic franchise where the ownership spends the money, they win, and fans are happy, and the fans keep spending money on the Steelers. So this does surprise me a little bit that the Steelers are on the bottom. Also, it surprises me that the Dolphins, year after year, are the number one team in these NFLPA rankings. I don't understand it because it's not like this can have a direct correlation to winning because the Dolphins haven't been winning, but they have the best amenities. They have the best, food. They have all of this other stuff that is great, but they just don't win. Chris and I have a little theory that because it's like Club Med in the Miami Dolphins practice fields and their training camp area, and when they're doing training camp, it's like Club Med. That's why players love it so much. But it is surprising to me that those two of the teams, you would think that the Steelers could be number one and the Dolphins could be last, but that's not true. Dolphins are number one and the Steelers are last. Now, they also put out some report cards on coaches. And here are the A coaches, which I think they're pretty self-explanatory. A+, Rams, Sean McVay, whatever. Commanders, A+, Dan Quinn. I don't get that one. Bears, A, Ben Johnson. Lions, A, Dan Campbell. Chiefs, A, Andy Reid. Vikings, A, even in a bad season, my best friend Kevin O'Connell. Patriots, A. Jets, A. Eagles, A. Steelers, A. Seahawks, A. 49ers, A-. Bengals, A-. Cowboys, A-. Bills, A-. Okay, I keep going all the way to the bottom. And the bottom has this. The Chargers. C+. They are 29th out of 32 teams. Even Pete Carroll had a higher score than the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. That's not good. That's very strange to me. And I believe that the Chargers facilities got really, really great scores. So you have Jim Harbaugh not rated as one of the best coaches in the league, but you have the Chargers facilities rated as some of the best in the league. But here is what I find absolutely hilarious and true. The last place coach on this list of report cards would be the Browns' Kevin Stefanski. Now, I've been saying it for a long time. I don't get the Kevin Stefanski love. Yes, he won 2 Coach of the Years, but the other 4 years, he had terrible teams. He got rid of Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield is relishing the opportunity to beat the Browns the Falcons, because that's where Kevin Stefanski is the head coach now. And Baker Mayfield's looking forward to beating them twice a week. But another thing about Kevin Stefanski, he also got C- grade last year. So what am I missing? I don't understand why so many NFL people and teams give Kevin Stefanski so much credit. He has not been great. And again, he had this whole thing with Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. They traded Joe Flacco. I don't get it. And I know that there are Browns fans out there that are happy that Stefanski is gone, but I'm just not sure why the Falcons would want him as a head coach. At least make him go back and be a coordinator and work his way back up. But you went from head coach to head coach, and you were ranked last year. That's never a good feeling when you hire a coach that's rated last by the NFLPA.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Clay says about the parking thing, contact the managing group at the parking. They may even have an online complaint system. Maybe put in a non-affirming review on the hotel, too. I'm not sure about that. Oh, SD Mike said something off topic, but I'd much rather talk or use that Pixel that I have, Google Pixel, than Tony and Chris's iPhones. Thank you very much. The Google Pixel is great. All right, Daily Gripe. This is something that happened yesterday, and it happens a lot, and it happens at the 7-Eleven that's near my house. Yes, I go to a 7-Eleven a ton. It's like the easiest thing for me to hit on my way up to the freeway. But there's a guy who works there, and he's a nice guy. We chat sometimes. But I've always disliked this nickname when someone calls me that. They call me boss. So my daily gripe is people who call me boss. I don't know why it bothers me, and now I'm telling everybody that something that bothers me. But for some reason, when someone says, "Have a good day, boss," or "Got you, boss," I don't know. It makes me feel weird. I don't know if anybody else is like that. Someone also told me one time, if someone calls you boss, and this is probably not true, and I would say, I'm going to err on the side of caution and say it's not true, but I've read that people who call you boss were people who were in prison at one point in time because they had to call the guards boss. I don't necessarily believe that, but the daily gripe is people calling me boss. Again, have no idea why it bothers me, but it does. Thank you to everyone who joined me this week. No Skraby show tomorrow, but Chris and I will have a Gwyn and Chris starting at 2 p.m. Hope everybody has a good night. Thanks for listening.